What's going on, everyone? We hope you had a fantastic weekend. On Friday, the stock market went absolutely crazy and records were broken. And while that's awesome to hear, what's even better to hear is that this craziness in the market is set to continue as we have a lot of major events happening in the market right now and even more big earnings to watch out for. In today's video, we're going to go over everything you need to know for the market this week and some awesome setups to keep an eye on. With that being said, Tom, let's jump right into it. We have a lot to cover today.
Yeah, on Friday, the SPY actually ran up to new all-time highs, and we saw it make a new high again. I know on Thursday it started making highs going into close, but man, on Friday, the market continued up to 496. We're going to have to watch out for the upcoming $500 area on the SPY, and this is courtesy of Meta. We talked about this one last week on Thursday night as their earnings came out, and this stock in after hours on Thursday was around like 450. On Friday, it got all the way up to 484, 485 at the highs, ended up being up around 20% at close. That is one hell of a run. So Meta is on fire. And just to kind of recap like what's been going on here, they reported earnings last week and they had a huge jump. Obviously, it's one of the biggest market cap jumps throughout history, and it is actually the biggest market cap jump in history, which is pretty crazy considering that, they're going up against Apple, Amazon, and other companies like that.
Meta added $205 billion to their market cap on Friday. That's insane, and it's a lot more than like any other company in history. Like the closest runner-up was Apple all the way back in November of 2022, and that was $190 billion. And you look at all of the, you could say top 10 days, and it was just crazy to see, how big of a move Meta actually had on Friday. It's just absolutely insane, and like you said, that had like a direct helping hand in, bringing SPY closer to that $500 level. I haven't even realized it, Tom, but like, we're really close to 500, and that's a pretty big number to crack. I mean, like, Tom, just in 2022, SPY was all the way down to like almost 350.
It really was, and whenever we zoom out, it's kind of insane. So if we go to that low down around 2022, up to where SPY is now it's not going to be exact, but it's up to around like 41, 42% as of where it closed Friday. So that is one hell of a gain and run just over the course of about a year and a month or a year and a couple months. So I love to see this, Mike, out of the stock market. It's creating a ton of good opportunities out there. There's been a lot of good stocks moving higher. I know NVIDIA was a big stock Friday as well, up around 5%, almost hitting like 666. We don't want to say that number too often, but but getting pretty high too. And Meta's push is just pushing all these big tech stocks higher, pushing the SPY and the QQQ up as well. So that is awesome to see. But for it to be the biggest market cap jump in history is still kind of mind-blowing to me. Now, obviously, if Apple would have a day where they move 20%, then they might take the cake. But hey, Apple, come on. You guys need to come up with some better ideas here, because that headset doesn't seem to be helping you too much in the short term.
Yep. All right, Tom. So while Meta's earnings was like the star of the show last week, we also have some pretty exciting earnings this week. And while there aren't any like major companies reporting like Apple or Microsoft or Amazon or Meta, there are still a lot of exciting reports from companies like Palantir, Snapchat, Spotify, Ford, Enphase, Chipotle, Alibaba, Uber, Disney, PayPal, ARM, Affirm, and a lot more. So it's like it's still going to be an exciting week, even though, there's no like gigantic company set to report.
Yeah, exactly. And then even like a few popular stocks that have been kind of hyped up lately are mixed in here too, like Spirit Airlines, ticker symbol SAVE. I know that one's been hyped up since Portnoy and since they've been falling down a ton. CCJ's on here. ARM, like you mentioned, has been pretty hyped up in the short term. I even noticed Toyota down here, which is another car company with Ford on Tuesday. So, man, we're going to have one hell of a week. It's not like NVIDIA or Apple or Microsoft or anything like that, but these are still some pretty big stocks. And even stocks that I am extremely interested in, like Disney, are going to report, because some of these stocks are still pretty low, like PayPal and Disney. They need to start recovering up, and these earnings might be what finally gets that, I guess, good uptrend starting here.
Tom, out of this entire list, pick one stock that you're most excited for earnings.
Oh, there's quite a few. It's hard. I think I got to go with Lincoln Financial Group on Thursday before the market opens. I'm just kidding. I actually never even heard of that company before today, but I guess I got to go with Disney, Mike. They have so much going on. ARM is a very close second for me, though.
I was like, Tom, you're telling me we have PayPal, ARM, Alibaba, Palantir, and all these stocks reporting, and you're going to pick Lincoln? I was like, what? But either way, I'm really excited for Palantir's earnings on Monday after close, though, because they're one of those stocks that is very, obviously very interesting, but it's been on a great run over, the past year or so. And, they're one of those stocks that, if they have, a really good outlook, they can definitely make some pretty big moves.
Yeah, they definitely can, and they're also sitting right on a key trend line on the daily chart, too. I've had this one drawn out for a while, and it's starting to bounce up off of there a little bit. So if these earnings go well, combined with that, we might start to see an influx of buyers, maybe up to that $19 to $20 range for them. That would be beautiful for Palantir. But yeah, go ahead and screenshot the earnings, guys. There are a bunch out there. Like I said, my favorites are Disney and ARM. So going into next week, Mike, we're going to have a ton of big reports there. And, to go over the economic calendar really quick, there's not really too much on the radar. Monday, we have ISM Services PMI at 10 a.m., and of course, we'll cover the rest as we progress through the week.
There we go. And then, Tom, moving on to our next interesting stat, we'll say, and we might be a week early on this one, but I thought it was interesting, so we'll cover it anyways. But we can see that, historically speaking, Super Bowl blowouts lead to some pretty good stock market returns. So you could see that whenever there is a Super Bowl blowout, and that's, defined by a, point difference of 21 points or more, whenever we see that, the stock market ends up rising or being positive for the year almost 85% of the time, and the median increase is almost 15%, which is pretty big. So I guess for anything for this year's Super Bowl, just hope for a blowout.
Yeah, the last time it happened was when Brady played Mahomes in 2021. Let's see if it happens again. The market went up 26% that year. I'm not saying that that's going to happen again in that way, but hey, it's always interesting to see these stats, isn't it, Mike? It's not necessarily something that, is going to happen for sure, of course, but it's always kind of interesting to see how the Super Bowl affects the market.
Exactly. So I guess shifting over into some other interesting events going on around the world right now. Tensions are increasing quite a bit in the Middle East, and basically what happened is the U.S. and U.K. Struck Houthi targets in Yemen, which, there's been a lot going on in Yemen lately, to say the least. But this happened a day after the U.S. struck, Iran-backed militia in Iraq and Syria. So the main thing is that tensions are heating up in the Middle East pretty quickly right now, and it's not good in any possible way. So just keep a close eye on I guess you could say, this situation as a whole, because if it gets worse, that could just add even more fuel to the fire. And again, it's not a good thing for multiple reasons.
Yeah, it's really not good at all. And just to see that we're striking targets out there now is pretty worrying. But then again, I don't really blame us because, people have been striking our bases lately. We just had a few service members die a little while ago over there. So I don't know. It's one of those situations that's going to start heating up, Mike. And what do people look at generally during this time? They start to look at defense stocks like Lockheed Martin, Northrop. You can look at General Dynamics. There's a bunch, RTX, Raytheon. There's a bunch of defense stocks out there. They also look at crude oil. I noticed crude oil last week was starting to pop up towards the end of the week. Chevron reported earnings, had a fairly good move on the report. So with that move with the report combined with what's going on in the Middle East, we might start to see these oil companies break recent highs. Like Chevron's actually sitting right at resistance again.
Exactly. And I think that's a very underrated statement, Tom, because if we continue to see tensions rise, oil prices can easily rise, and that can throw a wrench in so many things, especially inflation, which would impact the entire market. But either way, great statement there, and let's keep a close eye on this situation as it progresses. And speaking of, I guess you could say, geopolitics and international stocks, Chinese stocks actually saw their largest ever 4-week inflow recently. So that's pretty big, and it basically means that we're we're starting to see some funds really buy the dip on these Chinese stocks, but when you go to them, the stock performance isn't all that great, at least yet. So I thought this was interesting. It looks like, some people are kind of changing their opinion on, I guess you could say positioning when it comes to Chinese stocks. We just haven't seen, the stocks actually move enough, at least yet. But we do have some of these bigger Chinese stocks like Alibaba set to report earnings this Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw that one on the list too, Mike. Wednesday before open, so be ready for that. But whenever I look at China stocks on the short term, I'm definitely pretty worried, right? One of the big things right now to me is all these tensions between China and Taiwan. If those keep heating up, that's going to be pretty negative for these China stocks. But at the same time, it's interesting to see these influxes coming in. And I would say it makes sense to see influxes, especially as we're down around supports. Maybe people are starting to buy this up. And I'll say this, there's a big support down around 70. I actually already have an alert placed there. So if we get down to there, I'll be looking to maybe buy the dip here soon.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that being said, let's talk about some setups and predictions for the week. One stock I'm watching very closely is MSOS, and you guys know I've been talking about this stock all year. Basically, it follows a bunch of U.S.-based cannabis companies, and they have been booming lately. MSOS has been just like stair-stepping higher and higher and higher each week. And again, it's making new highs. Volume is staying strong, so I'm going to continue to have close eyes on this one going forward. I would like to see it get back to that $10.50 level and then just, keep up the great price action that it has had. This is not a setup that you just want to buy and hold. I mean, you can if you want to, but, for the setup I'm looking at it for, we're just looking for that good short-term price action and to, keep riding this bull uptrend.
Yeah, it's been an awesome move here over the past few weeks, and some of these days have been amazing, Mike. I know last week you were calling it out day after day, and let's say Thursday, for example, that move from market open into close was up 7%. So definitely keep your eyes on this stock. I know it was only up 1.5% Friday, but just wait. If it breaks that high, it could go a lot higher here. With my first one, I'm looking at another stock that's been on fire lately, which is Snowflake, especially last week. Snowflake started really moving up with Meta on Friday. So if Snowflake can break 220, I'll look for that continuation. And I really like the daily chart with Snowflake. You can see it's starting to break above these recent highs, which it's been stuck in this range for a long, long time. So it's getting a pretty clear breakout as of now.
There we go. All right, and another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Etsy, and it has been lingering in this $60 to $70 range for some time now, and it's really starting to move with some good momentum. On Friday it had a great day, and it had a lot of good momentum, which is what we like to see. I am watching this one for a continuation higher, but I would like to see it get back to that $76 area again with some solid momentum before making this one an official play, but it's showing a lot of potential so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty big resistance. If it breaks, I'll definitely keep my eyes on it as well. And I know that this is a stock that might surprise some people. I normally don't talk about stocks that are this low in price or stocks that are dipping like this, but I'm looking at SoFi here, and it's actually bouncing off support, which is $7.50. You guys can see there's been multiple bounces there, drawing some red arrows to those specific levels. If we continue to see some good movement back above $8 come this week, I'm going to look for more bullishness back towards that $8.50 to $9 range on SoFi. So I'll be watching for the support to hold up and be looking at this one as more of a dip buy trade for the week.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into tomorrow's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have good old SE to the upside.
Yeah, this stock has been pretty popular over the past couple of years. Go ahead and make them break that high of day Friday right around 42.60.
All right, with the next one, we have Snapchat also to the upside.
Yeah, watch out for those earnings this week, but for a move into earnings, go ahead and watch for them to break above $17.20. And keep in mind, we're not saying to hold it through earnings. This is only a play for tomorrow.
Yep. All right, and then with the last one, we have BABA for both directions. And like you said, Tom, with earnings, the same thing applies.
Yeah, and BABA has a good double bottom in the short term, right around 71. So if it breaks under there, go ahead and look at puts. That's a pretty good lower support. If it ends up getting back above that 72.20 intraday resistance from Friday, then I have calls.
Boom. So we have the downside level for puts and we have the upside level for calls. We are watching, BABA for both directions, like we said. And then we have Snapchat and SE for potential upside plays. These three setups are only potential plays if they break the levels Tom listed. We're looking for a strong imbalance of momentum and then to ride that imbalance of momentum as the stock breaks out. But the stock has to actually break out for this, trade to be worth taking. So keep a close eye on these three stocks going into tomorrow. But Tom, we had a pretty interesting big money play on Friday with Zoom. The big money put 823 grand into the Zoom 70 strike call options that expire on August 16th of 2024. So Zoom is a stock that has been lingering around at these lower levels for what seems like forever now. And the stock is doing all right, but it's certainly not doing the best. But basically the big money is looking at Zoom for a potential uptrend this year as they bought the 70 strike calls and they have until the middle of August with them, and it's a decently big trade coming in at 823 grand. I think this setup definitely has potential. But I will say, if you're going to follow it, you have to give it the time it needs. Zoom is a stock that, again, is oversold and it has potential, but that doesn't mean anything if the short-term, I guess you could say, hype isn't there. So that doesn't mean just because this big money trade came in on Friday that it's going to come in tomorrow, the hype. Like, it can take a couple weeks to a couple months for the buyers to actually come in and lift this stock higher. But with everything being said, I think this is a very interesting setup, and I'll be watching it very closely over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, me too. It's right down around support right now. There's a big support on the daily chart that I have right around 63 to 64 bucks. And, whenever you zoom out on Zoom's chart, I'm saying Zoom way too many times right here. But whenever you zoom in, you can see that support is pretty dang big. I'll draw a bunch of red arrows down to that support. And then also combined with that, it's kind of bouncing right on a trend line too, being this big purple trend line. This stock has been stuck under here for almost over a year now. So I'll be watching for it to confirm off of this and get a nice move back to the upside over the next few days. Maybe get back up to like 66 to 68. I actually like it in the short term. I know the big money plays more longer term, but I do like it bouncing off support. And if tech stocks keep moving up, that'll be pretty good for Zoom. I'll say this though, Zoom has a pretty weak correlation to SPY, so in the grand scheme of things, it's going to do kind of whatever it wants.
Yep, great point. So keep a close eye on Zoom going forward, but looking at everything right now, the market is cracking new all-time highs on what seems like a daily basis. We're seeing giant powerhouse companies legit break records. I'm looking at you, Meta, as you set the record-breaking $205 billion day on Friday. But things are heating up, and that is a great thing for short-term traders. Seeing giant moves is what makes for, of course, a lot of opportunities. On Friday, we saw Meta options increase by like 5,000% in a day. To see like giant moves like that is very exciting, because it's not like these opportunities are just going to go away, because we still have a lot going on, whether it's the giant things happening on the geopolitical front, whether it's earnings, whether it's stocks at all-time highs, whether it's the election year or anything else. Opportunity is here, guys. I hope you guys are excited, because it's an exciting time to be a short-term trader. We do, as we've been saying, we do have some very, very exciting updates coming to the StockedUp trading floor that you guys won't want to miss out on. On Friday, a bunch of people hit it out of the park, as we all know, given the big events and crazy moves that we saw on Friday. Shout out to our member of the day, Jacob, who was it's his first day in the StockedUp Discord, and he sure did fantastic. So keep up the great work there. But our bots also hit it out of the park, as SM Bot had a 250% winner with NVIDIA on Friday, and a 200% winner with Meta, and then a 198% winner with Snow. SurgeBot also hit it out of the park, and was an overall great day. Come join us in the Stocked Up trading floor. Get access to our army of trading robots. Chat with Tom and myself all day long and get access to these big updates when they come out over the next week or so. When they do come out, prices will likely increase. So if you want in on the trading floor, now's the time. But with everything being said, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it this week.